right, Matt Walsh says that Mamdani's policies are all insane. He can't believe he's serious, so I guess we're figuring out what the hell's going on in Matt Walsh's world.
Fortunately, turn back briefly to Zohran Mamdani, because the fact that a third world Muslim communist from Uganda is about to become the mayor of our
a third world Muslim communist. That's a lot of words here. First of all, is he actually a communist? Like, what communist policy does he believe with? He's running for a seat, so he obviously believes in a state, and, you know, he wants to fund things, so he obviously believes in money. Communism's a stateless, classless, moneyless society. Where's the communism here? I'm just confused. Where's the communist come in here? I just fed a tiger meat in World of Warcraft. I have engaged in supported cannibalism. I am an awful human being, and I should go to the gallows. But also, like, a third world Muslim. What does it mean to be a third world Muslim? Because, like, I can understand that term if somebody lived in a third world country. You could argue that the United States is becoming one of those things. But I really don't understand what Matt Walsh's version of those things is. It feels very esoteric. I don't know.
Most populous city really does matter. Last night, there was a big rally from Mandani at a stadium in the city. AOC was one of the Ugandans' warm-up acts. And, you know, it was not her best performance, I have to say.
Jews escaping Holocaust, Black Americans fleeing slavery and Jim Crow, Latinos seeking a better life, Native people standing for themselves, Asian Americans coming together in Queens, in Brooklyn, in the Bronx, in Manhattan, in Staten Island, in this country.
What's bad about anything she said? What's bad with the Jews escaping Holocaust, Matt Walsh? Can you explain to me in detail what is bad about the Jews escaping the Holocaust? I fail to see the problem, Matt Walsh, with the Jews escaping the Holocaust. That doesn't seem to be a problem to me, Matt Walsh. But that does seem to be a problem to you, weirdly.
This is what counts as a stirring oratory on the left.
Man, it's so weird. It's obviously causing people to cheer, so it's obviously working in some way, and you're only playing, like, 3 seconds of her speech? So I wonder if maybe there are other aspects to her speech that could have been useful, but, you know, nobody in your stupid fucking audience is gonna actually watch her speech. They're going to listen to you critique 3 seconds of her speech. I guess we're done. We have critiqued 3 seconds of Matt Walsh, and I have found him stupid. I am going to continue playing World of Warcraft now. That's my goal in life. Nah, I'm kidding. I have integrity.
All you gotta do is scream out a list of various ethnic and racial groups, making sure to list all of them except for white people. And this is a list that AOC jams into every speech she's ever given, and yet she still stumbles over it. So practice does not make perfect in her case, it turns out. But the main event was Mamdani himself. We've already discussed extensively the fact that Mamdani is a third world communist Islamist grifter con man who is only a viable candidate because half of the city wasn't born in this country and many of them can't even speak English. But now I want to focus on the actual policies that the Ugandan commie scammer is proposing. We're told by his support.
Why does he keep on saying Ugandan commie scammer? Like, what's the scam? Where is he a communist? And whether or not he's Ugandan, like, doesn't fucking matter. He lives in America. Why do we keep calling attention to the fact that people aren't white? Why does them being not white matter? Why is that a thing that you or I should give a shit about?
Supporters, the ones who can speak English anyway, that Mamdani is popular because of his policies. So what are these popular policies? Well, here he is outlining what he considers to be his top 3 proposals. Listen.
Here is what we stand for, my friends. We are going to freeze the rent for more than 2 million rent-stabilized tenants.
This sounds good. Okay. Freeze rent because housing prices are insane for people who make normal fucking wages. Okay.
And use every resource at our disposal to build housing for everyone who needs it.
Okay, building housing sounds good.
We are going to eliminate the fare on every single bus line.
Okay, public transportation being more affordable.
Make what are currently the slowest buses in the nation move around this city with ease.
Okay, fixing critical
And
infrastructure.
we are going to create universal childcare at no cost to parents. So New Yorkers can raise their family in the city they love.
I fail to see the problem with
Together, New York,
anything he has said.
we're going to freeze the... Together, New York, we're going to make buses fast and... Together, New York, we're going to deliver universal... We will make our city one where every person who calls it home can live a dignified life.
So Mamdani's big ideas are to freeze rent, meaning landlords will be legally prohibited from raising the rent, to make buses faster and free for everyone, and to make childcare free for everyone.
Okay.
This is Mamdani's genius 3-step plan to make New York City affordable.
Each one of those seems fine. Like, those are objectively things that would make living in New York City more affordable for the people who live there. Like, it's not going to be as radical as you would need it. Like, I would argue that you would also need to make sure that there's affordable housing in New York City. But he already has a plan to make affordable housing in New York City, so that's covered as well. Like, that seems fucking fantastic. I fail to see the problem, Matt Walsh. Then again, I'm not 100% certain how much I should care about things that Matt Walsh considers problems, since he considers such things problems like Jews escaping the Holocaust, as noted in this video.
The Ugandan has cracked the code. To make a city affordable, all you have to do is pass a series of laws requiring that it be affordable. Mamdani is going to take his magical wand, which he bought from a Ugandan witch doctor by trading 2 goats and a pineapple, wave it around, and make everything...
Can you like, calm down the fucking racism just a little bit? Like, just a little bit. I get that Matt Walsh is a theocratic fascist, but my God, he just doesn't fucking shut up with it, does he?
free and good and wonderful and faster. The buses will not only cost nothing somehow, they'll even be faster. So that's all it takes. This is crazy. I never knew. All it takes to make stuff affordable is...
Nobody said all it takes. Not a single person said all it takes. The only person saying all it takes is you. You have to individually argue against those things and say whether or not they are good. That's it. Whether or not they're good. That's all you got to do. That's all you have to do. Is anything he said bad? Is it bad to have bus fare be free and paid for by the taxes that New York City residents already pay? Is it bad to have more affordable housing? Is it bad to have rent freezes that allow housing that is already something people struggle with to not get fucked for at least the next 2 years? Is any of that bad? No? Shut the fuck up then.
For someone in government to go, hey, things have to be affordable now. Hey, all you better make things affordable.
Are you an idiot?
All you have to do is shout at the housing market and say, be affordable. And it
Did you know that one of the main ways that politicians can change things in their local area is by supporting or enacting laws that change things in their local areas? That's so weird. That's wild and strange and crazy even. I am completely flabbergasted by the concept, Matt Walsh.
will be. It's magic. Now, if you've been paying attention to the history of Western civilization over the past 200 years or so, you'll know that all of these proposals have been tried many times before, and they've all failed.
Do we? Can you give some examples of rent freezing failing specifically? Can you give some examples of that, Matt? Or are you just gonna have source trust me, bro? And also, would rent freezing failing at any point in time be evidence not to try it again? Would affordable housing failing at any point in time be positive evidence against trying in the future to have affordable housing for people? Because that doesn't really track to me. That doesn't track to me at all.
Every time, in every place they've ever been implemented. The only places that have even come close to achieving any sort of success with these ideas are small, homogenous, all-white European countries. But even there, it hasn't...
Ah, yes, of course. We have to keep on harping on all white good. Brown person in power bad. White good, brown bad. Did you know that white good, brown bad? Matt Walsh really wants you to know white good, brown bad. Really, really desperately wants you to know that. Twilight says, hey, sir, look up New York moving day. Just tell me what it is. Just tell me what it is. I would like to know what it is.
Really worked out, and it certainly has never worked and can never work in a large, crowded, extremely racially and ethnically diverse population center.
Why not? Can you give a reason why racial diversity would make it so that money stops working the same goddamn fucking way?
And that is all that should need to be said.
No, you need to give a fucking example. You need to give proof. No, you don't just get to say a thing that may or may not be wrong and then leave it at that. No.
Make this segment too short, so, I'll keep talking. So let's take each of these proposals one at a time.
Sure.
It shouldn't be necessary to explain the problem with freezing rent. Only someone who is, and I mean this in the medical sense, truly, but only someone who is mentally retarded could ever think that you can make housing affordable by telling landlords they can't raise the rent. If it were that easy, okay, the policy would be implemented everywhere.
Then what would be the method? What would be the method, Matt? What method would you use? Can you explain what the method is, or are you going to do the cool thing where you never actually give an example of anything and you just poke holes at something somebody else said, but you never once ever substantiate your own claims? Because that feels like that's the kind of video we're going to be watching together. Please don't tell me that it's going to be that one, Matt. I want to pretend you're better than that for the bit in the video so that I can then pull the wool away from my audience's eyes when they realize, no, you're not better than that.
And we would be living in a utopia of 4-bedroom, spacious, pristine, $800 a month apartments. But no such utopia exists. And that's because there are many costs associated with being a landlord. And the freeze on rent does not freeze any of those costs. Okay, as a landlord, you have maintenance fees, legal fees, leasing fees, property management fees, gas, electric, trash collection, water, sewage, lawn care, repairs, plumbing, pest control, cleaning, not to mention property insurance, property taxes, potentially HOA fees. And that is just a partial list. Now, what happens when those costs continue?
It's a fairly exhaustive list, actually. That's not a partial list. That's a fairly exhaustive list. Anyway, so here's the thing. When we're talking about landlords, are you talking about the same landlords that have been raising prices in areas to a point where people can't afford to live at all? Are you talking about those landlords? Because, if we're talking about the same landlords, then they should figure out that shit. That's on them to figure out. But if nobody's able to afford housing, which is becoming the case in several places, then maybe those landlords should get their shit together. As for repairs to units, repairs are fairly rare, depending on what you're having to repair. Things like plumbing may happen more often in terms of repairs, and obviously the more units you have, the more times you may have to repair those units, but the more units you have, the more income you're bringing in. I think it's entirely okay to freeze rent. I don't see a fucking problem with that. Because you can shout from the rooftops, but there are costs associated. Okay, then every single one of those landlords can sit down with a financial advisor and they can figure out what the fuck to do about those costs. They can. That's an option available to them.
To rise, even as rent is forced to stay the same. You end up with rental properties that owners can no longer maintain. You end up with foreclosures. You end up with no incentive to build or rent new properties. You end up with a drastic reduction in the housing supply, exactly what has happened every time these policies have been attempted elsewhere. So to review, by freezing rent...
You know that the drastic reduction in the housing supply is a fucking spook? You want to know evidence that it's a spook? We currently have more houses than people in the United States. There are more rooms available in houses, not to mention just fucking houses, than there are people living in the US, and yet we have a homeless population. Why is that? Well, there's a variety of reasons. I'm sure that somebody like Matt Walsh would try to focus on things like, well, maybe they're on drugs, maybe this, maybe that, but there are also the sheer fact that having a home is an unaffordable prospect for most people. Where I live, 1-bedroom apartments are currently running anywhere between $1,000 and $1,500. And I can't for the life of me figure out why the fuck that is. Because who the fuck is supposed to be able to afford that right now? If you are currently working the federal minimum wage, which most people aren't, so we'll go ahead and say that we have a little more than that, unless, you're working at Goodwill and you're disabled, in which case they do everything in their power to say that you shouldn't get any of that money in the first place. Let's say you're working for $10 an hour, because I've seen a lot of fast food places around here and retail places advertising that they're doing up to $15 an hour, and people end up getting 10 an hour. Most of these places do not want you working full-time, so you're working 32 hours a week, and we'll multiply that by 4 weeks in a month. And, wow, holy fucking shit. $1,280. That is not enough to afford most places where I live. How the fuck are you supposed to afford that? Well, you can say to yourself, well, you get together with a spouse or a roommate, and both of you have that, and now suddenly there's $2,560 available to you. So we take away that $1,200 to $1,500 rent. We'll call it $1,200. We take away the $1,200 to $1,500 rent. We take away the $350 being spent monthly for average households on groceries. We take away your internet bill, which is on average $100 a month. We take away your phone bill, which, let's say you're going with T-Mobile, most of that's going to end up running you about $120 a month. You might be able to get away with Mint Mobile, maybe. You've got gas to and from work. That could be running you about $250 a month. That's what mine was, just going to and from Atlanta and shit. So between the two of you, oh, right, power. You need power. Oh, let me just put my power bill in right now. Let me put my power bill in. Oh, no. Oh, no. We haven't gotten to health insurance. And we're in the negatives. We haven't gotten to maintaining your car so that it can actually get you the fuck to work. And we're in the negatives. We haven't fucking gotten anywhere, Matt. And already people probably can't fucking live. They are having to either balance plates and push their bills around, which is what I'm having to do, in order to survive. Or, alternatively, they are having to pack so many goddamn people into a house that any reasonable living conditions may as well actually be packed slum conditions. What a fucking weird concept, Matt.
What you get is fewer rental properties available, and the ones that are available are in worse condition. So, congrats. Now, what about making the bus free? Well, we've already talked about this actually at some length, leaving aside the fact that you're losing a lot of fare revenue, which means taxes will be raised to make up for the losses, which means the bus actually is not free because nothing is free, nor
or the money will be reallocated from a fund that does not necessarily need it. That's another option. The funding can be allocated from other sources. Like, I'm not aware of how all the taxes work for that, Matt, but that funding can come from somewhere else. Not every tax dollar that is spent is being spent correctly. I would love if my little video button would work.
Can ever be free, as any moderately intelligent 7-year-old understands. But leaving that aside, all you'll accomplish, as has happened everywhere this has been implemented, is turning buses into roving homeless shelters. Because now the already meager...
They already kind of are. Like, okay, so when you're on buses, there are people who already sleep on the bus who are homeless. Maybe you should also do something to solve the homeless crisis. Maybe if there were something in Mamdani's policies that addressed homelessness, maybe that would solve for that problem. Matt, oh wait, he actually has affordable housing plans in there too. It's almost like that concept was already thought of. My God, you are a tumor of a person.
Your barrier keeping the homeless from setting up camp on buses and proceeding to make the experience even more miserable, disgusting, dangerous, and not to mention pungent for everybody else will be lifted. So that's not going to benefit working New York.
Can this guy speak in anything other than just disdain for people who aren't as well off as him? Like, I get it. It's inconvenient to deal with people's stench. I play Magic the Gathering. I understand. I also get it. It's super inconvenient to have to deal with people who may not be in the best of mental health episodes. And we have seen instances where people with terrible mental health episodes have done some pretty terrible shit on fucking buses. Maybe you should be worried about fixing those underlying causes. And oh wait, those are parts of Mamdani's plan. Weird and wild.
Workers who can afford the bus fare in the slightest. It is purely a benefit for homeless, unbathed, cracked out vagrants. As it happens,
let's just stigmatize the homelessness even more. It's great. I love the idea of Matt Walsh's world. A world where he is holier than thou, and everybody around him is not as good as him, not as rich as him, not as white as him, and he fucking lets you know it.
Most of Mamdani's policies are tailored primarily to that demographic. Universal childcare is by far the worst of these disastrous ideas.
Well, why? Why is it bad for children to have money allocated to raising them? They're the future, Matt. I'm sorry that you hate children.
And let's leave aside again the fact that it is catastrophically expensive. There is no such thing as free childcare. Do you know why?
It's not free childcare. It's childcare paid for by tax dollars. You reallocate tax dollars from other ventures that are not going to be as good for the people of New York, or have classically proven to not be as good for the people of New York. You reallocate those taxes to instead pay for childcare. This is pretty standard procedure for anybody who has been involved in Congress, because Congress is, in fact, the purveyor of the United States wallet. They have the privilege of the purse. They don't magic up money, they allocate money. That's what Mamdani's policies are meant to do. You moron.
Because the child care providers are not slaves. You have to pay them.
Yeah, you pay them with tax dollars. What part are you not getting?
They cost money.
Yeah, tax money, you idiot.
And so it's not free and can never be free.
It's not free, it's paid for with tax dollars. Again, you moron.
I said before that nothing is free. There is one exception to that. Something can be free with slavery. Okay, so if you really
Where nobody's advocating for fucking slavery, you absolute goon.
want free stuff, then we got to talk about having slavery. That's the only way to do it. You want free stuff, you want to get things for free, you want free childcare, you want free this, you want free that. Well, the one way to do it is slavery. You could even have free buses, maybe, if the bus drivers are slaves and the buses are maintained by slaves.
That's not how anything works, my guy. Okay, so does New Zealand have slave labor in its fucking healthcare system? Because most of their healthcare is, quote, free. You know how you have, quote, free healthcare? You know how you have, quote, free buses, Matt? Tax dollars. Dollars that are already coming out of people's paychecks. You just appropriate the funds from the purse of tax dollars and move those funds to something that benefits the citizens more, away from projects that benefit the citizens less. That's what you do. I feel like Matt has to be smart enough to understand this. But I am unfortunately living in a world where A, he's probably not, and B, I can't show you any more of the video. Because you've probably noticed that my chat is not currently functioning. And my chat's not currently functioning because my internet is not currently functioning. My hardcore hunter may be dead in Stranglethorn Vale, which is almost as much of a tragedy as Matt Walsh being able to fucking speak. But at least I don't have to hear any more of his voice. I just had to continue carrying on with the cadence that nothing had gone wrong on my end with my internet. I love living out in the middle of nowhere where this happens more often than not, and I love not having enough money to pay my bills. So every time this happens, I worry that it's because I wasn't able to afford a bill. It's my favorite. It's my absolute bona fide favorite. Anyway, that's Matt Walsh, everybody. I hate it here. Hey, you made it to the end. I want to give an extra thanks to the patrons who allow me to do this full time. I want to thank Aaron Rail, Astral, Britzkrieg, Jemshin, Poundini, Red Joker, Victoria, Jonas, Craig, Tarika, Fireshard, Smiling GM, John, Dren Hadamada, Creeper, Sagitta, you know I'm not saying that last part, Valis of Seraph, Ottoman Angel, Rooster Rachel, and Fire Panda, who are all my $20 and up patrons.